Okay. So, what I do with my children when they are being kids, right? And maybe I'll give you an example. Maybe I would give them a directive and they just did whatever they wanted to do. First of all, I will find out if they understood what I asked them to do. And if they can tell me what I asked them to do, that means that they made a choice to not listen, right? So then I explain to them why I asked them to do a certain thing and why it was important for them to do it. And it wasn't more so like for an individual purpose, but how it benefits the family as a whole and how they may have dropped the ball, not just for them, but for everybody. Then I explained to them that that same characteristics, when they're on their own, can potentially get them in trouble with the law, right? I don't wish that on them, and heaven forbid, God forbid, any of that occurs, right? Because I'm just not that mama. Um, that's going. I digress. But what I do to correct that characteristic is I have them sit down with the law book. Now, this is a book that I have written. It is an international jurisdiction case. However, why I sit them down with this, because in the back or towards the back, I have included a judge's, what they call a practitioner's guide. So this is what the judges of international court refers to. Now, international law is higher than state and national. They all kind of agree. However, you can't necessarily apply this law to national law, but it's the overall structure of humanity, in my opinion. So I have them sit down and read this. And then they have to write 100 times old school. They have to write 100 times whatever law that stuck out to them. And why I do this is one, children hate assignments, so that is a sense of a punishment. Two, they're not keen on reading, and that's my ice maker. They're not keen on reading, and they are learning the law for themselves. I always rallied that if you are going to hold children and people at such high sentencing for wrongdoings, then they need to be teaching law in school. It take what, almost 4 years for you to get a law degree. That's a whole high school. I think that they should introduce at least basic law in school around the time that it's time for them to learn the driver's manual, right? Because the driver's manual is an introduction to law. So it needs to follow up with at least basic civil law, basic criminal law. And if they want to keep this whole institution of college going, then you could be more advanced and, pick which particular law you want to focus on. But if you're going to hold a community or people to these high sentences, I mean, some of those sentences is life in prison, and I'm not making excuses for nobody. I just feel like you should give people at least the opportunity to actually do wrong, right? And not be and not have the attitude of ignorance is no excuse of the law. It kind of is if you hit it so well, or it kind of is if you never introduced it in the school and you made everything else super important, but then when they're out in the world, all of a sudden that doesn't apply, but this law does. That's counterproductive. So I wrote this book. It is on Amazon. Um, and you can get it as well. You can use it for your children as well. And if you don't have a dad in the house, you know, the dad technically was the law or the structure between your relationship with God and them reading this law. It kind of helps for the missing person because they're still mentally getting the information that they need. All right, so go ahead and copy that copy, and you can read it for yourself first so that you know what they're reading, and then go ahead and use it in your disciplinary action so that your kids now are well informed and they're just not out here recklessly moving around or just being unruly and you birthed them. Okay? All right. Till the next video.